The next topic we had today is Ahmad Bawaneh, who's going to talk about Domino History, which is a different part of sort of the suite of tools that the DominoKit framework has. This is a simple routing tool to manipulate the URL and browser history of the page based on the browser's own push state API. It is presently only targeted at the browser, as I understand it, but with the goal of allowing you to use the same sorts of features for routing in other platforms as well. JavaFX, I think, is the main one he mentioned. That's coming up next. So,
okay. Should I start now?
Yeah.
Okay. So the purpose of Domino REST is that I want every time I'm writing an application, I face this same problem that I want to manipulate the URL in an easy way to provide a set of functionalities. I want to listen to the URL changes. I want to update this URL based on the user navigation on the application. Okay, and I need to read some information from these URLs. Okay, and I will use these information to reconstruct the page. Okay, or to know what kind of data I need to fetch from the server, something like that. Okay, and another thing that I want to do is I want to listen based on specific filters. I want, for example, I want to listen when the URL token starts showing with some sort of a string of a path or even has a specific query param. Okay, and in any application, in SPA application, it's important to be able to reconstruct the page from where the user left it. For example, if you can take a URL and give it to someone else, he pastes it in his browser, he will get the same page. He will see the same thing that you were seeing when you shared that URL. Okay. And of course, we're using this for navigation in our application. Let me explain this by example. Okay, I have this simple example here that is based on a GWT, and it's very simple, just a simple layout. Okay, and I have two menu entries, and when I click on one of these menu entries, I'm just updating the content of the layout with some card with some string. I'm taking the title of the card based on the value for this three item. Okay, so this is the application. Basically it's very simple. Okay, as you can see here, I'm navigating to this card and updating the content with this card, but my URL is just flat. It's just still pointing at localhost 770. It doesn't reflect the current page where I'm standing. Okay, so I'm gonna use Domino History to change this thing, to change this part. I'll make the application works differently. I want the URL to be updated and to reflect where I am currently standing. Okay, so I'll come here. I will just find an instance of Domino state history. I'll call it history. Okay, and now I'm going to do something different here. Instead of updating the content directly like this, I will just use the history to update the URL. History.first item.get value. Okay, now let's see what will happen here in the application. We will just get something different. Okay, so as you can see here now, the URL is changing. Okay, when I click on menu 1, and here when I'm clicking menu 2. Okay, the content there, I didn't update the content, so I commented the code out, and I now will move this somewhere else. Okay, but I will still maintain the same old behavior. So I'm gonna listen now to the history changes. Okay, I will receive the token here whenever the URL is changed. and I will then update the content. Now, I don't have the tree item here, but the information I need is actually already presented within the token I received from from history. Okay, so I'm gonna do history token get dot value, for example. I'll show you more advanced usages for Domino History, but now I'm just listening to any change here. I'm not doing any kind of filtration. Okay, I'm just listening to any change, and based on that change, I'm gonna update the content. Okay, let's do this again. Okay, just I'll get a 404 if I don't remove this one from Tomcat. I just remove it and refresh. Okay, so now we are listening to the changes. We are reading the token, and we are using token here just to as placeholder for these values, as you can see. Okay, so we are navigating and we are updating the URL now. That is the most basic usage for Domino History. I have another application running here. Okay, as you can see, just to show you more usages and functionalities for Domino Host. For example, I will just remove this part and I will hit the fresh button, and as you can see, my application started and it directly hit the home page. Okay, the home URL, and it's showing me my home page. Okay, so just a little bit explaining this example, then we are back to the browser. Okay, in this example, I have implemented a simple MVB, a very simple one. It simply defines some sort of a presenters and binds them, okay, with a view. Okay, it just injects the view inside this presenter, and whenever when I activate a presenter, is just get the root panel and it just append the view to that root panel. Okay, in my application here, I'm just implementing the GWT views. The views here are GWT based. Okay, they are the Domino UI. Okay, everything here is actually usable inside the JVM. This is inside the shared module. You can use anything here, implemented here inside the JVM. This is the only part that is GWT dependent, which is actually just the UI. Okay. So in my application, I'm just defining a new MVB. I'm telling it what is the root panel that it should use. In this case, my root panel is just a simple domino dom global document.body. I'm just appending to the body, removing and appending to the body. Okay, I'm having 3 presenters and I'm injecting 3 different view implementations there. Okay, I'm also specifying my Domino History implementation. As you can see here, Domino History or State History is just an implementation for what is called an app history, which is the interface actually. Okay, so this is why we are saying that we are going to have another implementation, which we have one for test that runs on the JVM. Okay, we use that when we are doing our test. We are just specifying the test implementation, which is actually doing almost everything that the one that is based on a GWT or an elemental doing. Okay, so it should work. Actually, providing an implementation for the JVM is very simple. We will just a new module and we'll just copy that from the test, modify a few things, and we should be ready to use it. Okay. Anyway, here we are providing the history. Then we run our application. Okay. In our MVB here, when we run it, we are doing something very simple. We check the current token and the history. This is how you get what is currently presented within your browser URL. Okay, you just call history.getCurrent token, and it will give you the current token. You check if is it empty or not. Current token isn't a string. This is empty. Is actually doing some stuff there to check it. Current token has a lot of functionality within it. Okay, the token, it returns a state token. So if it's empty, we just fire the token home. Okay, otherwise we fire whatever is presented currently on the browser. Okay, so this is how I routed my application when I hit it directly like this without any token. This is how I routed it to the home page.
Could you zoom in a little in the browser?
Yes,
while you've
sure.
got that open, just to make it a little easier to read that text on the side. Thank you.
This one. Okay. Cool.
Yes, thanks.
Okay. So this is how I routed back to the home when even if the URL was empty. Okay. We will see the use of this one also later. Okay. And I'm simply here using the history to listen to the URL changes. And based on that change, I'm activating different presenters. Okay, so for example, in this one, I'm just listening for any token that is exact match of home. Okay, and based on that, I'm activating the home presenter. Okay, which will actually append the home view to the body. Okay, so what happens when I'm running my application? I fire this state, which actually trigger this listener, which activates the presenter. Okay. Another thing that you can notice here that I am also changing the title on the page when I'm doing so because I'm providing a title here. Okay. Because I'm providing a title here. So another presenter, if you can see here, I have other 3 buttons. They will route to the same presenter, but every time with a different path. Okay. So here I'm navigating to page 1, page /1. Okay, and it's showing here it's activating the presenter called page presenter. Okay, and setting the text here to page.1. Okay, if I go to page 2 or to page 3, those are actually the same presenter. Okay, activate 3 times, but every time with a different value here in the path. Okay, and looking here at the code, what I'm actually doing is saying that I want to listen to the history changes, and I'm interested in paths that starts with page and a wildcard for any page index. Okay. So all these paths that we have seen here, page 1, page 2, page 3, they all route to the same listener here. Okay. And they provide me with one extra parameter, which is the page index. Yeah. As you can see here from, I can just call presenter to set index page, reading the index page from the token. Here in the state, which is that actually the token, okay, that's the state token. I'm gonna take something called normalized token because it's actually normalized this path with the token in the URL. Okay, and here where it provides you with the path parameters or fragment parameters later on, the parts after the hash. Okay, so I'm just calling get path parameter page index knocks this page index, and here it's page index. Okay, then I'm activating the presenter. The presenter will actually this is the page presenter. Okay, when I'm calling page index, it just calls the view, and the view will just implement change the content for the page element here. It just pastes the index. But the idea is that I was able to read that part of the path using the wildcard, okay, from the URL, okay, and the filter. There's ton of filters here. You can check out. There is a lot of filters. Some are based on the path. Some are based on the part after the hash. Some are part for the query for query parameters. You can filter based on anything basically. Okay, and you actually can even build your own filter. In some case, you want some kind of composite, or you have some custom business for doing a filter. So maybe you want to check some static value in your application or whatever. Okay, you can implement your own filter. Okay, so the other one here is, as you can see, as we said before, Okay, we have this one. It will read these two values and will manipulate the path based on those two values with the query parameters. Okay, so if I click here, as you can see, navigates to search employee, and it will provide some query parameters in this case. Okay, it's provide name, DominoKit, status active. Okay, so I'm reading these a little bit differently here, because for query parameters you don't need wildcards. They are part of the URL already, the name and the value. So I'm just reading them directly from the token itself. Okay, here it is, query parameters, name, status. I'm just reading them, and I'm just activating the presenter with will do something exactly the same as the page. It will just manipulate the view with these values. Okay, now if you, for example, change this to inactive, okay, you see this, it's inactive. Another part which is important when we are doing the routing in our application, okay, I would love to reconstruct the page every time I'm hitting the URL. As you can see here, it's reconstructing the page, because what I'm doing basically here is I'm firing the current history state, the current state history. Whatever is presented here in the URL, I'm firing the current token, and this listener will be triggered. Okay, and it will read the parameters and reconstruct the page based on that.
I'm
Okay,
in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, I was just want to show you.
No, keep going. I just letting you know where we are.
Yeah, okay. So another thing is that you can just navigate through the browser itself, not just through your application. So when you navigate through this back and forward button, it will still be working. And that's all. Any questions?
If you were to refresh the page while you had one of those loaded, is there a server component that makes sure to load the page with that path?
Okay, it's actually some kind of, you need to filter that. You will need always to retain the index page in this case. Okay, and in this demo application, I'm doing it in a very dumb way. Actually, just implemented my server to retain the index page when it gets an error. That's all. So it's actually hitting when I hit this one. If we open the browser, the network here, sorry, and we hit, I think we will get here some sort of not found. Okay, it just forwarded me to my index page, and because I'm back to the index page, we got this one running here. We got this running, and it just fired the current state and it activated the presenter. But actually, in an actual application, you need to implement some sort of a filter. So you need to make sure that you are not serving your index page to some sort of a weird URL or something like that.
So just to clarify, could you go back to the browser and show the network traffic there again? It sends a 404 with a location header, you said?
No. I'm just forwarding the error to the. As I said, I'm just telling this here, telling Tomcat that whenever I get 404, just forward me to the index page.
Okay.
That's
so
all
that
I
is
did.
the 404
Okay.
page. Okay.
Yeah, that's the 404 page. But in your actual application, you shouldn't do this. Okay.
So some kind of a servlet that could be provided by Domino History, or your own application should design its own.
Your own application. Okay. Yeah, your own application. Domino History does not provide you with any kind of implementation related how your server should work. Okay.
I do have an implementation kind of similar to this that I wrote a long time ago, which allows some of it to run on the server, but the goal of that project was different. The entire page actually renders cleanly on the server also. There's a separate implementation for each of you. That way, a user without JavaScript, like a search engine, could still get content, and then the page would add more details. But I think for the average page, you'd have to decide for your own application, do you want to just automatically allow everything to load properly, and then run the page, and then, like you said, fire the history token? Or do you just want to, or do you actually want to have different behavior when each one loads?
Yes.